The breakfast briefing this morning will focus on the higher education, and the main guests, of course, is the Minister for Higher Education and Training, Nzimande, and Deputy Minister Mduduzi, Manana. But let's cross over to Peter very quickly now, just to find out who he'll be joined by now.
Leanne, thanks very much indeed. Well, yeah, we're about, I guess, 30 to 40 minutes away from the main conversation, but just as a precursor, I managed to catch up with the Director General in the Department of Higher Education and Training, Gwebinkundla Qonde, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges, some of the issues that we'll be discussing in detail a little bit later on. DG, thanks very much for joining us on the program. A lot has happened in a very short period of time. October last year, I think you were in Durban. You were having a higher education summit and discussing, probably at an intellectual level, what the landscape was going to look like in the year ahead. And then the Fees Must Fall campaign began, and suddenly the landscape changed quite dramatically. Take us through the summit, the Fees Must Fall campaign, and where we are now going forward.
Yeah, no, thank you, Peter. No, the summit was actually looking at concrete issues in respect to evaluating how far have we gone in respect to building the system, transforming it over the past 15 years, with a focus in the main for the last 5 years. And we've realized that there are a lot of achievements that have been scored in that regard, insofar as expanding access in the system. Now we are sitting with a situation whereby the majority of students in the system are black and are women, something that wasn't there before. And also research outputs has actually increased across the system, and the quality of provision has improved in many respects, and government has actually pumped a lot of resources into the system in improving infrastructure as well as beefing up NSFAS. We then had to look at what are the challenges going forward that are confronting the system. And the summit realized that in as much as there has been such a lot of investment, it's still not enough in meeting the demand. And we need to work out mechanisms of galvanizing more resources for the system. And also the question of the curriculum, it came out quite strongly that it is not situated within African and global South. So it's a matter that we need to attend. We've agreed that looking at all these areas, we actually need to look as to how forms of engagement are conducted at institutional level in order to find one another in building on these successes and ensuring that we take the system to the new heights. And we are also going to talk, that is the minister this morning, about the plans that the department and government is having in respect to the entire post-school education and training system. I must emphasize, Tim, that the question of the post-school, it's not just about universities. We are talking about 30% of student population, 70% of the student population finds itself in TVET colleges and other forms of offering within the system. We can't neglect that one as well. We need to find that perfect balance within the system. And we've worked out with government into ensuring that we mobilized extra resources that have been made available to alleviate the situation to such an extent that all students who are meeting NSFAS means tests are going to be allowed to register without any hindrance. And we are actually appealing to everybody else and students who are protesting not to disrupt students who are coming to register, because it's causing a lot of pain. I've been in these institutions, team. It's so paining to see parents and students coming from as far as Eastern Cape, Western Cape, KZN to register, only to be told by a group of students that you are not registering, go back home. Others came having been accepted and accommodation was going to be given upon registration. And now they have to find themselves out in disarray. They have to find other means of survival at that moment, something that they didn't plan.
All right, so you've given us a good overview, and if the images at Wits University are anything to judge by what might happen in the next 10 days or so, how do you manage? Because I get a sense that maybe some of the students that are protesting are not or are kind of a law unto themselves, and that the SRCs are not fully in control of all of the students that are protesting.
No, this matter is being dealt with at our institutions, because an institution has got obligation to protect any student who is not striking. And they've got an obligation to ensure that students who are coming to register are afforded that opportunity by all means. And we are appealing to protesting students. They should not raise and protest about their issues in a manner that tramples on the rights of other students. So it's important in a democracy.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there because we're running out of time, but I think we've got enough to think about for the conversation that we're going to have in detail a little bit later on. Thanks very much. That was the DG in the Department of Higher Education and Training, Gwebinkundla Qonde, otherwise known as Gwebs. Okay, CSC, it's drizzling a little bit here, although I'm starting to feel a little bit of sunshine coming through, so I guess it's going to get hot later. Let's find out from CSC what kind of weather we've got in store.